If you want dry cocoa, you can get it. Any kind of cocoa, I'm selling it. Hot or cold cocoa, you can get it. Cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? Cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? Cocoa sticks, cocoa sticks. Things picking up, things picking up. My cocoa production, I more set solutions like cocoa, tea and dumpling. My friends in Brooklyn like it with sardine. I went to World Bank for assistance, but so much friends are losing patience. But when I show them my cocoa is nice, people saying my cocoa selling, my sales rising, my cocoa selling, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? Cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? If you want white cocoa, I selling it. If you want dry cocoa, you can get it. Any kind of cocoa, I selling it. Hot or cold cocoa, you can get it. Cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? Cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale, cocoa for sale. Who buying it? Who buying it? Cocoa sticks.
It's summer sizzle, it's summertime. What? It's summer sizzle, it's summertime. I hear people talking, calypso and trembling. Hurricane sour coming again. Who say he's a fluke? I rebuke them in the Asher's name. A fisherman I am, shouting my Creole. When I blow my ponchel, that means I catch my friend. Yes, it's me that have people jumping. Yes, it's me that have people whining. That fisherman that have tourists coming in for Carnival Day. You gotta say, you gotta say, whoa. Every guy is so seasoned. I'm taking 2 steps higher, higher and higher. These people never saw in me. It's right before their eyes. It's now a reality to see the talent in me. Praises I give to the Almighty. Yahweh the Jehovah, He never give up on me. He sent me an angel to bring out the talent in me. Whoa, He sent me an angel. So what is written, let it see, let it see, let it see, let it be. It's our season, it's summertime. Boy, it's our season, it's our time. When you're trying to be creative and someone to be negative, let them have sour again and again. Who say that do it?
Yes, yes.
Tell them the musical lyrics say History was on its way. I understood it was a comforter blunder. They gave my crown to another brother. The judges deserve some fire, but that is what I under the bridge. We want to believe you will receive. Whoa. Every guy is so seasoned. I take him to step higher, higher and higher. Things people never saw in me. It's ready for their rise. It's now a reality to see the talent in me. Praises I give to the Almighty. The Yahshua the Yoga, He never give up on me. He sent me an angel to bring out the challenge in me. Why? He sent me an angel. So what is written, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. It's on the season, it's on the time. Why? It's on the season, it's on the time. As I enter in the arena, as I pray Christ is soldier, separating the wolf from the sheep. Well, and dangerous. I'll put in His holy name. I am what I am, that I am I say. I am I say. A leopard can change its spot. Man, that should say. I have a duty to entertain, to lift people from the daily pain. Yes, I will be doing what they expecting. One to you, one to them.
Daddy, daddy, da 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 da. Democracy's fighting a losing battle in my land, in my land. And most of the most educated people live in surrendered existence. And the best way to get into trouble is to try and liberate oppressed people who don't know where they stand. They don't understand that binding together people's power is the only solution for our land. But they want to shut me up. People still free to talk in communist China and Venezuela. What is the big thing? People protesting. They want to shut we up. Are we not free to talk in Dominica and Antigua? Because them doing all kind of wrong things. Hear me, take care or you kidnap me. We are living in no communist country. Daddy, daddy, da 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 da. Daddy. Who will speak for the country? Who will stand on its side?
All right, Dominicans, and all those of you who are locked into Civic Vibes page at this hour, a special good afternoon to each and every one of you. To some of you in the listening and viewing audience, it's already maybe good night. So I want to say a special good night to you. Some of you it's already evening, so I want to say a special good evening to you. It's a pleasure always, each and every time, to have you right here, glued in with us on the Civic Vibes Facebook page. That is each and every Sunday from the 4 o'clock hour. And yes, if you know the team of Civic Vibes, we try rather to be always on time. We know your time is very important. And so we don't try to waste at least 30 seconds of that time. So again, a special good day, a special greetings to each and every one of you who are already logged in to us here this afternoon. We're going to have a very, very interesting and informative program here for today's 13th day of February 2022. How time flies, eh? Already mid-month February already. It's a very good day that the Lord has made, and yes, we all will rejoice and be glad in it, as the good book says. This afternoon, we're going to have, a double whammy, as it were. We're going to have a very first segment in terms of someone speaking out as it pertains to the healthcare system in Dominica. We're going to have her in just a while and have that candid conversation get on the way. The second leg of that double whammy, as I said, is a brother, a son of the soil. He will be joining us about the 5 o'clock hour this afternoon, thereabout, to speak about the important and significant role that Black people continue to play in our society. Dominicans, visitors alike, good afternoon to the Civic Vibes Facebook page. Every one of you already glued. We have persons already like Merlin Shillingford. Good afternoon to you. Joan Farrell is already glued in. Juanita Prince, you're already there. Good afternoon. Mr. Bernard Aline, good afternoon to you, my brother. Dorian Dorival, that is also here with us. One that goes by the name of Dominica Freedom. You know, some persons have some very interesting names on social media. So Dominica Freedom, good afternoon to you, my bro. Mr. Dave Bertrand, that is a regular of Civic Vibes. He's a contributor. He's one of the usual suspects, I call him. He always is glued into whatever is going on here on Civic Vibes. So again, good afternoon to you, Brother Bertrand. Angela Paul, you're locked in. Maury Jules, good afternoon. Jillian Macau, you are there. James Cam, Justina James, you are there. Cyrus Raphael, better known as Sindhu, you are there as well. And the person who took the prize for being very first one to log on this afternoon is Glenda Isles. I notice you, Glenda Isles. You are there, and you're saying you're locked in from New Jersey, so a special good afternoon to you and everyone else already glued to the Civic Vibes page. Folks, it's always a pleasure to have you in our listening audience and viewing audience. We appreciate you each and every time for taking your time, your precious time that is, to be here with us each and every Sunday afternoon. The rest of the team, Marceline Edwards, she's somewhere out there enjoying the sunshine somewhere. I know you're glued, Marceline. Good afternoon to you. I haven't seen my other co-hosters yet, that is Paula, but I'm expecting Paula to be here this afternoon in the flesh. As I said, folks, we have two very interesting segments of this afternoon's Civic Vibes program coming up in just a bit. So all we ask of you now is that you keep it locked to the platform that you got, and that is Civic Vibes platform right here on social media. Please, folks, share the live as we are getting set for a very interesting conversation this afternoon. In the meantime, let us just take a little musical break again just before we start. You know, it's Calypso season, huh? And Dominicans love the Calypso, I can tell you that. Let me say a special good evening and congratulations to all the persons who made it last evening to the finals of the Calypso competition. And let me just run through their names so that you, the listening public, could have a better idea of just who the Calypsonians are who made it last evening at the semifinals. They are about to go to the finals coming up later this month. The persons who made it, they are the Dice, that is Dennis and Joseph, the Dice, 9-10 King, the Dice. We have Black Diamond, Healer, Caressa, Trend Setter made it as well. The Soul Puss made it. Mystery, that song that I've been making waves in Dominica and across the world. Coco Sticks, she made it as well. The Observer, that is the president of the Calypso Association, he made it last evening as well. Shanice, she made it as well. Tasha Peltier made it as well. The Checo singing a very interesting number this year about some speaker. He too made it as well. Well, Sour, he too is a crowd favorite. He made it last night as well. Sour is saying this year that he is stepping up 2 notches this year. So Sour for sure is someone to look out for this time around. JD and D, they are the 14 Calypsonians who made it last night, and they will be stepping up to the finals, as I said. The reserves are 3 reserves in place, just in case one of the Calypsonians, for some reason or another, can't to the finals. The reserves are Mika, Explosion, and Checker. These are the 3 reserves. Again, Mika, Explosion, and Checker, they are on the quote-unquote substitute list, just in case one of these Calypsonians, one of these 14s cannot make it, they will be attending to things at the final as well. So again, it's a very, very good afternoon. Let us just take a little musical break in terms of some of our calypsos, and we'll be coming back to you in just a bit. All right, that is one of them who made it to the finals last evening.
Trembling, hurricane sour coming again. Who say he's a fruit? I rebuke them in the Ashwan's name.
Yes, folks, in just a bit, we're gonna have a conversation with Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders this afternoon. That is her name, cousin of 48-year-old who basically was laid to rest last week, Friday, Mr. Jenna Lawrence, better known as Tony Boy of Warner. We're going to have a discussion with his cousin in just a bit.
Every guy is so seasoned. I'm taking 2 steps higher, higher and higher. These people never follow me. It's right before their eyes. It's now a reality to see the talent in me. Praises I give to the Almighty. Yahweh the Yoba, He never give up on me. He sent me an angel to bring out the talent in me. Whoa, He sent me an angel. So what is written, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. I rebuke them in the Ashwan's name. A fisherman I am, shouting my creole. When I blow my ponchel, that means I catch my friend. Yes, it's me that have people jumping. Yes, it's me that have people whining. That fisherman that have tourists coming in. For carnival. You gotta say, you gotta say. Whoa. Every guy is so seasoned. I'm taking 2 steps higher, higher and higher. These people never started me. It's right before their eyes. It's now a reality to see the talent in me. Praises I give to the Almighty. Yahweh the Yoba, He never gives up on me. He sent me an angel.
All right, let's get on the way this afternoon, folks. In a while, we'll have a discussion with This is Miss Liz Coates Flanders this afternoon. Again, all of you already glued to the Civic Vibes Facebook page live. A special good afternoon to you. We have in our audience here this afternoon our regular co-host, Paula Celestine. She's joining me here. Let me just have Paula say opening remarks and hi and hello to each and every one of you out there, and we get the conversation going. Paula, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah, look, good afternoon, Lottie. Good afternoon to our viewers from our Facebook page. For whatever media that you're viewing us this afternoon, I want to say a blessed Sunday afternoon, each and every one of you. I also want to say good afternoon to our guests that we have this afternoon, Mr. Lewis. Hope you're having a blessed Sunday afternoon. Marceline Edwards, good afternoon to you. And as usual, our regular Sunday afternoon program, I hope that we have a lot of viewers this afternoon and they will be touching base with us. So once again, good afternoon to each and every one of you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Paula, indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Let me just this volume here so that we don't get this feedback. Okay, let me just slow it down so we don't get a feedback. Yes, let me now move over to Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders. Good afternoon to you, my dear, in a very, very special way. Welcome to the Civic Vibes social media platform. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Durant. Good afternoon, Paula. Good afternoon to all the radio listeners, Facebook listeners, and everyone on all the social media platforms, all Dominicans. Special good afternoon to everyone.
All right, Liz, again, it's my pleasure to welcome you here, Paula and myself, and also by extension, Marceline. It is not under the quote-unquote best of circumstances that you're here, but you are here nonetheless, and we appreciate your presence here this afternoon. I must say, having followed you for some time now, maybe past month or so, you are a very hurting cousin, and that is the primary reason why we are here this afternoon on that social media platform. Please, just as we get into the conversation this afternoon, just in case some persons may be on the live and don't know who is Miss Coates Flanders, can you just go into a little as to, explaining just who you are, please, just giving a little more information?
Okay, well, my name is Liz Coates Flanders. I am actually a certified life coach and business consultant. I left Dominica almost, I would say 14 years ago. So basically I I live abroad and very much involved in whatever when it comes to enhancing someone's life, business, entrepreneurship, just basically achieving your goals and your dreams. That is my forte. I work a lot with young people, entrepreneurs, business owners. I'm someone who believes in justice, and I believe that people are supposed to live their fullest and deserve to, the best life and the best things out of life. And so just in brief, that is who I am. I am Dominican, and yeah, it does, even if you're not living in Dominica, you still are affected by obviously the things that happen back home. So yeah, this is who I am. I'm not hearing you, Mr. Durant.
Yes, sorry about that. Again, yes, thank you, Liz. Again, I just want to appreciate the listening audience and the viewing audience. It's a pleasure to have you guys on board as well, because without you, the platform, the Civic Vibes platform would not have been, so interesting each and every Sunday. So thank you very much. We'll get to some of your comments, questions, suggestions in just a bit. But Liz, as we go into the meat of the discussion, as it were, your cousin, Jenna Lawrence. Matter of fact, I viewed some of his sending home service, as it were, where Pastor Randy Rodney, was the pastor then. It was a very good send-off, I must say.
Indeed.
Can you just tell us, Liz, as we get into the conversation, just who your cousin was, Jenna? Well, what kind of person he was?
Well, Jenna Lawrence, better known as Sonny Boy, he was the life of the party. I mean, you know, you have one of those family members who is just the light. Wherever he goes, he always has a joke, always has a nickname for everyone. He is one of those persons who was very friendly, very outgoing, very helpful. Everyone who knew him rather, they knew him as someone who was very, very friendly, very outgoing, very helpful, just a ball of light, you know. He spoke his mind, you know, you never had to think or wonder what he was thinking. So he was truly that person. And if you look at his homegoing, you saw that the people from the village of Warner, they really gave him a beautiful send off. And because they truly, truly loved the person that he was. Yes.
Yes, indeed. I remember seeing this guy now and then, and in terms of he being the life of the party, yes, I can attest to that. He's normally
Yes.
energetic, you know, very, you know, outgoing. So yes, I can attest to that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Ms. Coates, walk us back to the day when you heard your cousin fell sick.
Okay. I don't live in Dominica, but we are all close. The family is very close. No matter where we live, a lot of us are abroad, but we are very close family. And so when he fell sick, one of my cousins back home called me and told me that he had gotten a major stroke and that they had taken him to the hospital. So when I heard that, I immediately told her we have to start to pray, you know. And what she told me was that they were trying to stabilize him to fly him out because, of course, they don't have a neurosurgeon in the hospital. And at the time when they run the test, the first set of tests that they ran on him, they recognized that he had a stroke. The stroke was related to he had gotten what do you call it? In his brain, he got a clot, an arterial clot, blood clot in his brain. So as a result of that, that's what caused the stroke. So they had to stabilize him to fly him out. And so what we were basically hoping was that they were able to do that, and then he would have gotten the necessary treatment that he needed. And so we began to pray as a family, you know, in that expectation of him getting the basic treatment needed to travel. On Monday, she called me, she messaged me, I was at work, and she told me that they still haven't been able to stabilize him to fly him out. As a matter of fact, they don't have certain medication that he needed to get him stable. He was also a high blood pressure patient, so his pressure was very high. And when she told me that, I started to panic because I'm like, okay, we're already into Monday. He's been there for almost 2 nights. So if they still haven't been able to stabilize him, that is a serious problem. So I was starting to get really frustrated. Of course, you feel hopeless because you're not physically there. I'm not a doctor, so you know it's so many things that weighs on you as a family member. And so I told her, girl, we still have to continue to pray and hope that they are able to get whatever medication he needs to fly him out immediately. And then when she told me that until Monday, he was still in a normal room with ordinary patients, that is when I totally lost it because I was like, this is crazy. I mean, she sent me a picture of the condition that they had him in. They just threw him on a bed with IVs in his hand. And I was so upset, Mr. Dura. I was extremely pissed off, if I could even use, for lack of a better word, because I'm like, I cannot believe that after so many years, we have not improved the healthcare system back in Dominica. And so I started to get upset. Both of us on the phone, we was like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous, honestly. And then, of course, by Monday evening, from what we were told, they got the medication, but it was already too late. He fell into a coma, and then he passed away on Tuesday morning. Yes.
Wow, so he passed away on Tuesday morning, you said. But have in terms of when he got hospitalized, did you have any contact with him?
No, I did not, because I think when he came into the hospital on the Saturday, one of my younger cousins was in contact with him, but briefly, because he wasn't speaking properly. From what they told me, he had what they, when you have a major stroke, you have like a very heavy tongue.
Yes.
So he wasn't able to really communicate very well. So they couldn't really speak with him in any case. But one of my cousins did tell me that when she was leaving, he said to her, the last thing he said to her was, well, in his Dominican twang, Papa Met, are you going to leave me in that hospital? It's almost as if he already knew that he was not going to make it.
Wow, that's a very, very touching story thus far. Liz, I must tell you, just as we are moving along that very sad journey of you guys as a family for your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere along the way that you guys felt okay, that everything would be okay with Jenna? Anywhere along that
I think the Saturday when he came, I think we were hopeful, the Saturday, even the Sunday. But when I was told that he was still in the normal room on Monday, that's when I started to lose hope, because it was too long. I mean, he was already, when he came in on the Saturday, his right side was already dead. So that person needed immediate medical attention. And so after Sunday, I think I thought that he was already being treated by the Sunday. But when I was told that he was not on the Monday, that is when I realized that everyone felt like, okay, it's not looking good at all. It's not looking good at all, because he was already there for almost 2 nights in that condition.
That's very, very, very sad story thus far. But I hope you guys as a family, things happen in life. It is not the best of times, the best of circumstances. As I said, Liz, that you are here with us.
Mm-hmm.
But I pray that God, God is keeping you guys as a family together through this very trying time.
Definitely, yes, indeed.
We have heard a lot of other stories, a lot of other similar situations where persons, walk into the PMH with basic illnesses, I must say, and their family, like you guys, expect them to come out alive and well, but it normally takes a turn for the worse. My co-host said this afternoon, Paula Celestine, she's here, and I would just like her now to chime in as to some of the situations that she knows can bring forth to the conversation this afternoon. Paula, yes.
Yes, thank you again.
Yes.
Okay. Liz, I'm not sure whether you've heard about this Dr. Dale Dagobert.
No.
Have you heard about Dr. Dale Dagobert?
No, I have not. No.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Liz, I was asking whether you heard about Dr. Dale Dagobert.
No, I have not heard of him. No.
Okay, Dr. Dale Dagobert is a doctor from, actually he's originally from Point Michelle, and he's based somewhere in the US. And when you spoke about this surgeon, Dr. Dale Dagobert came back to my mind. Because I can recall a few years ago that Dr. Dale Dagobert actually was trying to open up an office here in Dominica, and that he would be able to work with his Dominican people. And he was rejected because of political affiliations. Dr. Dale Dagobert went on to this country, I think it's St. Vincent or one of this, St. Vincent, and has opened up a clinic and has since helped many persons over there. Now, a lot of persons have similar story to what you just spoke about, because it's not just having a hospital, but it's having the proper equipment. Because you can have a structure and you do not have the equipment and you do not have the medication. I have been to the hospital myself, and be this for myself or with other persons who are seeking medical attention. And what I see sometimes, like the doctors and the nurses, they really want to assist you, but they do not have what it takes. And I'm talking about medication-wise. And here this afternoon, you are explaining something similar to what I know other persons have experienced. A patient who is in such condition should not be among other patients, and in that sense, like an ordinary patient, because to be suffering from some brain implication, this is very serious, and this should be treated urgently. And to have this patient placed on an ordinary ward and not having to get the medication that he needs to stabilize him, then this speaks volume. And the thing about it is sometimes there is a saying that some persons, they only speak out when it hits home. And sometimes some persons speak about the ill that transpire when they go to the hospital, and some other persons bash them because they say, oh, you are criticizing your country. But they doesn't look at the wider part of it. Because for a patient going to the hospital with such kind of implication, and you are telling me you place this patient on an ordinary ward and you doesn't have the medication to treat that patient. Stroke is a very common thing for the past few years because a lot of persons who are hypertensive, this is one of the implications that they may come up with, strokes and stuff like that. And I believe these are medications that should have been there in stock. As soon as someone comes in and you realize whatever implication that they have, the illness, that you should be able to treat them right away. And a lot of times I believe some persons' lives could have been saved if only the medication that they needed and the attention that they needed actually have been provided to them. So I want to say I sympathize with you. I knew this young man very well, Sonny Boy. And the reason why I'm saying I knew him very well, the very same thing that you said about the kind of person that he was, outspoken, that's how I knew him. I knew the vehicle that he drove. And it's like every time I see that vehicle, I said, it reminded me of my son vehicle because they actually had the very same kind of vehicle, the same color and everything. And he was the very outspoken person. He was a very jovial person. So I want to say, we all know at some point in time, persons have to depart, but it's the way that they have departed. So I want to say I sympathize with you and the rest of your family. Be of good courage.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Paula, for your statements here. We read conversation that we are having here. But I want to get back to the situation where your cousin journalist was placed in the healthcare of persons at the PMH, that is a primary healthcare facility in Dominica. I know it's very tough, and sometimes in those tough situations, we say things and we do things that are, you know, sort of not the right thing or not the right timing at times. The way I'm getting at is, would you paint a broad brush on all persons, be it at the health care facility at the hospital, saying that your cousin passed? Would you paint that broad picture to say that, you know, everything is so doom and gloom that nothing is happening there, right?
I cannot, honestly, as I said before, I don't live in Dominica, and I cannot say that. I do believe that, as Paula said, I do believe that the healthcare personnel who are there at the moment are trying their best with whatever facilities, equipments, and medication that they have available. I do believe that they do the best that they can. I also believe that when you lack the, you know, in any profession, when you lack the basic medication, the equipments in your field, in a hospital, it is going to frustrate you when you have patients coming in with certain illnesses and you cannot aid them. You know, it's only normal as human beings that you would be frustrated. So I do believe that a lot of the personnel there are also operating under a lot of frustration because they want to do better, but they just simply cannot. And that can frustrate anyone in any career, in any field. So I think that they are trying their best under the circumstances that they are placed in. And can they do better? Probably they can, but it's very difficult, as I said, to do better when you just don't have what you need to do better. How do you do better if you don't have the equipments, the medication? How is it possible you don't have the right doctors? You don't have, from what I'm understanding, they still do not have an emergency area to receive emergency situations. I mean, just the basic things that a hospital needs, they don't have. So it's very difficult. I think a lot of them, their hands are tied, and I think they're trying their best. That's what I would have to say on that.
Yeah, yeah. Through speaking about your situation with your cousin untimely passing, Elise, have you been hearing of other such situations that other persons coming out and in your time of bereavement comforting you, but in the same process telling you about their ordeal as well?
Yes, a lot of persons actually reached out to me, via Facebook. It was very overwhelming because I did the video to raise an awareness, and of course I was really hurt. I was very angry and just wanted people to understand that this just simply cannot continue in any country. So when I saw that other persons experienced similar things, it blew my mind because as I said, I left Dominica almost 14 years ago, and I thought that things had improved, but apparently it has not. It has gotten very worse, and it's very sad. It's very sad. It's something that of course when it hits home, it's even worse. But I think for me, it doesn't have to continue like this. Something definitely has to be done about the situation. I always tell people, the three basic things that a nation needs is healthcare, employment, and of course, healthcare, employment, and also being able to, have education, the proper education. So if you don't have that in a nation, it's you're not thriving and you're not going anywhere. So the persons that contacted me, they were like, they went through the same thing. My only issue with that is, why are more people not speaking out about this? People are just suffering in silence, not saying anything, and then expect things to get better. We cannot continue to be silent. I understand that you may not want to be the one who blows the whistle or calls out the elephant in the room, but sometimes you just have to, because nothing is going to change if nobody says anything, if nobody speaks out. As I said, me speaking out has nothing to do with any political party. It's just a situation of the basic needs of a country that is needed in any place that you go. It doesn't matter if it's a third world country or whatever it is. We need proper healthcare, and that's just what it is.
Yes, indeed. And I cannot agree with you more in terms of the need for proper health care, and not just a building, because we know in Dominica that we have a newly constructed building that is called the China Friendship Hospital. That is where the once then PMH used to sit. The building, I must say, it is very pretty on the outside. There's a phrase that goes by saying that putty and paint can make the devil look like a saint. And as to whether that is the case with our newly found hospital in the name of the China Friendship Hospital, I really don't know. But what goes on in that facility in terms of healthcare, that is what really should matter. And based on what I've been hearing so far from persons like you and other persons who visit there on a regular basis, they keep telling me, Mr. Dira, the situation up at the PMH, it is really wanting in terms of the service or services that we should find there as a people.
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah. So Someone asked me just before we get on the conversation here this afternoon. Someone asked me to ask you, in terms of your experience that you went through, what do you think are the things that are most lacking at the PMH? I know you can basically speak to your cousin's situation. What is the things you think that was most lacking in terms of he getting that health care that he needed?
Well, the thing about it is, I recognize that we don't have, and I say we because I am a Dominican, so even if I'm not physically living in Dominica at the moment, but I have family back home, so I always consider myself a part of whatever is happening down there. We don't have an emergency center set up where first response, where people are dealt with situations like this, in critical situations like this, where they are taken immediately to the ICU. There's nothing really in place for that. And also, even the basic things like the oxygen machine that he was placed on, from what I was told, it was not even working properly. I don't even want to, honestly, it's, Mr. Dura, it's very sad. They don't have the basic equipment to stabilize their patients. I mean, a situation like that, I'll be honest with you, I have seen so many people. I know people who got strokes and even older than my cousin, in their 50s and 60s, and they are alive and well. Yes, they had to go through years or even months of therapy, but they are alive. And I truly believe if we had, just the basic things, proper oxygen ventilator machines, medication for persons who are hypertensive, which they did not really have. They did not have when my cousin his pressure went up. You know, just the basic things that a hospital is supposed to need, even paracetamol. I heard that they don't have, from time to time, they run out of these just basic necessities. And, the list goes on and on, not having a neurosurgeon at the hospital, in a situation where a surgery needs to be done on the brain. They don't have that. So my thing is, this is what I would say. If they don't have the basic things that a hospital needs to operate, then what is really going on? Why is the hospital even open? Because, to be honest with you, the way my cousin was treated, it was as if he was in his home, that he had only veins in his body. There was nothing administered to him until Monday, And so for me, he was left suffering for that long. And that should never be. That should never be. It broke my heart because I could only imagine, what he was facing in those last moments. I mean, any patient. I mean, when you go to a hospital, Mr. Dura, and to all the radio listeners, when you go into a hospital, you have the expectancy that you're going to get better, that they're going to do their very best to ensure that you come out of there alive. As a matter of fact, by the time you get into the hospital, you already start to feel better because you feel as if you are in safe hands. You have that reassurance that they're going to take care of you.
Yes.
And this is not the case in the hospital in Dominica as at the moment. And so it is very troubling. I mean, I will have to be very honest. It's troubling. It is something that can give anyone sleepless nights. And as I told, my aunt and some of my other cousins back home, I told them, how do you guys feel about that? Because we all are going to experience certain things where we have to be treated in the hospital. And just to know that there's nothing in place at this time. My cousin, from what I was told, he had insurance. So, not even if you have insurance, I mean, in certain countries, based on the insurance that you have, you get a certain level of treatment based on your policy. But that is not even the case in Dominica. It doesn't matter what insurance you have. It's like everyone is just thrown into the same brackets as, okay, we don't have that, we don't have that. And so I just hope that this situation can be looked into and addressed. I hope that the government officials and law enforcement persons do something about this, see the need of healthcare in Dominica, and do something about it, because the people need proper healthcare. I mean, it is just a basic necessity of any nation, any country, and at least they should be able to have the necessary equipments and medication to stabilize their patients, to transport them from the hospital to the airport, to fly them out. I mean, even those things they don't have. I mean, I know stories upon stories of persons who, when they were transporting that patient from the hospital to the airport, the person died on the way because they simply do not have the right facilities to transport patients. Now, when you think about that, it should, for persons living in Dominica right now, you should be afraid, because it means that, if something, God forbid, happens to you, your life is in serious danger. And that should never be the case.
Yes, it should never be the case. And yes, we agree with you very, very much, 100% and more. Paula touched on a point earlier that I just want to go back to and reemphasize. We understand here at Civic Vibes, we understand the situation that you and others are going through at this time, or maybe some persons have gone through. And so we don't want the conversation to be necessarily dragged down the road of being so partisan in nature, whereby we criticize. But constructive criticism is what we do here. And so wherever the chips fall, it have to fall. Paula spoke of Dr. Dale Dangleben earlier. Liz, I'm telling you, I've heard Dr. Dale Dangleben, who is a Dominican. This guy is an expert at what he does. A number of occasions, Dr. Dale Dangleben came to Dominica and basically opened up himself, opened up his services, what he can do for his people in Dominica in the medical field. He's in charge of one of the big traumatic centers or hospitals in the US. He's the director, I believe, of his department. So this is not a Johnny come lately. We have heard of other doctors such as Dr. Christian and others who are, as we speak, are being denied access so that they can serve their people at the PMH. I mean to say, if that is not something that Dominicans need to be hold of, take stock of, and do more about it than just speaking, I don't know what is. Because a man of Dr. Dale's Dangleben caliber, I'm not saying if he was there or he was instrumental in the hospital, Jenna would still be there. I'm not saying that. But we know once you have the experts there, you have the tools at your disposal, then that in and out of itself can save lives. I mean, I always keep boasting about the French healthcare system. I've had the opportunity on a number of occasions to be witness or to privy in terms of how they take care of the patients in Martinique and Guadeloupe, the French territories. And I'm telling you, no boast, what we have here in Dominica compared to the French, it's uncomparable. Saying it is chalk and cheese is a certainly understatement. These people, if you die, Liz, you have to die, or you had to die, because these people go all out. The way they relate to the family members, the way they relate to the patient, the aftercare, the sort of protocols that they go through. It is like, I am always wowed at how they take care of the patients and persons who come in their care. And so we in Dominica, before we had that kind of primary healthcare situation where Dominica as a country prided itself on being the best in the region as it pertains to primary healthcare. That has slowly but surely gone out of the windows. Persons, I'm being told, used to come back to Dominica from St. Thomas, from wherever, to do surgeries in Dominica because the service was so up to par. But now, before somebody sneezes, they have to be hustled out of their country and be carried across to places like Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, to get the basic of services that we as a country should be rendering to its people. So I'm agreeing with you 100% that we need a much better healthcare facility in Dominica with the expertise to go with it, and that level of victimization, that level of vilification that comes with persons who can help Dominicans. The powers that be, the policymakers, supposed to free up the place, as it were, and say, you know something, these are Dominicans, they have the expertise. Let us give them a chance so that they can help our people where health is concerned.
This is something that baffles my mind. When you mentioned the doctor, what you said was his name? What was his name?
Dr. Dale Dangleben.
Dangleben, yes, right. I think I read something about it a while back, and these are the things that baffles my mind, because we do not appreciate our own people. When our people, our qualified people, want to come back and help the country, we do not. I say we because I'm trying to generalize my statements. We do not appreciate our own, and this is something that we have to revisit, because we have specialized people all over the place. We have qualified Dominicans in all different fields and professions, not just the medical field, who have the abilities to aid Dominicans. But whenever these people try to help, they ignore you. They do not give you the opportunity to help your people. I mean, I can speak for myself. After Hurricane Maria, I wanted to come back to help, because I work as a coach, and I wanted to help with the mental health aspect. And I reached out to a few persons, and I was denied that access to help, and for free, my people. And I just, it is something that it blows my mind, because we have people, so they would prefer bring in people from other countries with the same qualifications, the same degrees, to help Dominicans, when we have Dominicans that can help Dominicans. So I don't know what it is, if it's a lack of identity that we have, in terms of leadership. I don't know what is the issue, but it's something that, we have to do some retrospect, because, I mean, we have to retrospect in a sense of, why are we denying our own people the access to develop the country? And what is really going on with us? Because, at the end of the day, we all want to see Dominica thrive. We all want to see Dominica do well. This is not, again, any political thing. This is about me knowing that if something happens to my family, that they are going to be well taken care of. This is a matter of humanitarian. This is a humanitarian problem, where we have persons who don't understand that, it's not a matter of who's in government. It's a matter of what is important and what is priority. And this is the situation. I'm looking on the outside looking in. I've never been someone who's politically affiliated with anything. I'm just looking on the outside, and I'm like, in any leadership position, you have to show care for your people. And how do you do that? You ensure that they are able to get good health care. You ensure that they're able to be educated, they have good education and opportunities to obtain good education. And you also ensure that they can get employment. That is how you show that you care for your people and for your nation. And so we as Dominicans need to retrospect and look at what is happening in Dominica. What is happening, and why is, the main things, the main issues that plague our nation, why are these things not being addressed? Why? Asking the question. And it's not a matter of you're trying to be confrontational, or you're trying to cause any issues. You just need to know, as a Dominican, why, and you want to get answers, because you want better ultimately for your country.
Yes, indeed. We'll get to some of the comments that are circulating on Facebook already. Persons are chiming in with their questions or comments, but let me move across now to Paula so that she can chime in as we are moving on here.
Okay.
Yes. Liz, earlier you asked a question. Why are the people that are being affected, why are they not coming out to speak? Let me answer, or let me try to answer this question. The persons that are affected, why they are not coming out to speak? There are some of them that believe if they comes out and speak, that they will be affected or they will be bashed by political parties, because there's a lot of persons who put political parties before themselves and before the country. There are some persons who may be still looking to get a scholarship. There may be some persons who are still looking to get an NEP job. And because of that, these persons will not come out to speak. You spoke about your brother having insurance. I'm not sure how much that you really follow up with Dominica news and what's been taking place in Dominica. There was one minister in this Labour Party government who said that he has insurance for his family and himself. Now this speaks volume. So it simply says that these persons who have insurance and they get ill, there's means and ways to take them out of this country, so they are not bothered or care about the other persons who doesn't have insurance. Now, you spoke about after Maria, where you offer your service to come back to Dominica to help for free. And this is very good observation that you made, that they are bringing in other persons from other countries to do the very same work that Dominicans who want to come into work voluntarily are being rejected or denied. And the persons that they are bringing in from other countries, they have to pay these people. So, in other words, a man has no honor in his own kingdom. But all I want to say, there's a lot of Dominicans really leave Dominica, go out there, and other countries hire them because they see their potential. Yes. Dominica here, it's like a laissez-faire and laid-back attitude. And not only this, our Minister of Health is a doctor. He knows better, and I would expect him to do better. There's persons, when they fell ill, because of their affiliation again with political parties, these people are flown overseas for medical. Can you believe the amount of money that Guadeloupe and Martinique, our French neighboring island, is making out of Dominicans? And sometimes for simple things that could be done here in Dominica, but because they do not have the equipment, they may have some of the doctors, yes, and the nurses, but they do not have the equipment. So you have a big structure here, and the structures are empty. So it's like having a hospital and no equipment. You are helpless. It's like you doesn't have a hospital at all. And again, I will say that when it comes back, persons will only seem to realize what is happening when it hit them at home. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Paula, for your comments just far in terms of adding, some value to the conversation. Let's go now to our very appreciative crowd here that we have on Facebook so that we can take some comments from them. If some of them apply to you, Ms. Coates, then you can feel free to answer in response. This person here, Elizabeth Douglas, is saying here, true, Paula, I remember that being said about that they have insurance to fly out. The peons, something less fortunate, persons, the less fortunate ones have no choice but to settle for persons whichever is ditched at them. One goes by the name of Dominica Freedom is saying here as well, the Prime Minister that said that he has his insurance, what about you all Dominicans? Okay, let me just see if I can pick some more comments here. Adelaide Paul is adding a voice to the conversation and she's saying, the food you eat, the medical care you receive, the roads you drive on, the schools for your kids, the road you drive on and the school that your kids go to, the education they receive, the jobs for your children and you, the laws that protect you and your household, all dependent on the laws that represent or implement that unfortunately affect our life. That is Adelaide comment here. Another comment by Chrissy Dorset is saying, that is very true, but it is up to our government and the person who is in charge of the healthcare system to put things in place and see that it is run properly. The Dominica China Friendship Hospital is only a building. Gwyneth James is adding her voice. Gwyneth James is saying, I live in France, and that very true here. You are well taken care of. And if you are someone who has some kind of sickness, let's say cancer, your doctor call you your doctor call on you now and then, just as a checkup to make sure that you are okay. That is what Gwyneth is doing here. Let me just take another comment before we get back to you, Miss Liz. It says here, Rosie Nice says the MOU probably stating to do population control of our people so the Chinese can reign over the country. Okay, well, we don't know that for a fact, Miss Rose, so we will not attempt here to insinuate what we don't know for a fact. But yes, the MOU is still a very, very elusive thing where Dominican is concerned. So yes, you may be right, but we at Civic Vibes cannot vouch for that statement here. So we'll want to stay away from that a little bit. Miss Liz, we have like another 6-7 minutes with you. Anything else you want to add in terms of the conversation, in terms of its content before we leave this afternoon?
Yes, of course. First, I just want to, employ the Dominicans listening and those who are currently living in Dominica. I just want to employ each and every one of you to do some retrospect. And by that, I mean, look at what is happening in Dominica, and is it something that is beneficial to you and to your future generations? I think sometimes we, as Paula mentioned, sometimes people are afraid because they're afraid of losing opportunities. They're afraid, or if I speak, because I am aware of certain things that happen when people speak. But this is what I will say. If no one speaks out, if everyone continues to be silent, we will continue to see these things happening in Dominica, and it will continue to get worse. Okay, it will continue to get worse because that is what I have seen. I have left Dominica almost 14 years ago, and yeah, it's gotten worse. It has gotten worse because clearly no one has opened their mouth and say anything or voice their opinions about the ills that they have. Now, make no mistake, it doesn't mean that you don't like your government or you're not supportive of your government. It doesn't mean that because you are in disagreement with something that is they're doing, it doesn't mean that you cannot voice your opinion. This is something that we as people need to understand. You can disagree to agree with someone that you like, you love. We are all different people and we have different opinions. The only time when true change really happens is when people open their mouths and speak out and stand together in unity. Someone told me, I think a couple of days ago, that Liz, if we speak about this, we may lose our jobs. I'm like, then everybody needs to speak, because if everybody speaks, they cannot fire everybody. Clearly, it's a united front that needs to be had. This is the issue in Dominica. People are silent. People are like mumus. Someone else said to me, Liz, I'm just going with the flow. These are people that are suffering in silence, and they're telling me I am just going with the flow. This is no way to live, my Dominican people. Going with the flow in 2022 is no way to live. We are no longer slaves. Slavery has been abolished, and we need to liberate ourselves. We need to stand together, voice our opinions in a constructive and loving manner, and let our government and our government officials and law enforcement persons understand that we need better and we want better. Okay, that is what needs to take place in Dominica. There needs to be a movement taking place where people stand together, united, for better healthcare, for better jobs, for better education, all of these things. And that is the only way Dominica is going to move forward, is when people stand together and speak out. And for those of you who are listening to me this afternoon, I just want to continue to encourage you guys to do the best that you can, but never ever allow anyone to make you feel that you should be silent because they feel that they have power over you. Only God has power, has true power. Only God has true power, and we as people need to stand up for our rights. It is your right as a human being to have proper healthcare. It is your right. It is your right as a human being to have proper education. It is your right. It is your right as a human being to get employed, to get proper employment. It is your right. And once the people's rights has been lost, the nation is lost. And that is what we are seeing happening in Dominica. So I want to employ Dominicans to do your part. Speak out for what is right. Speak out for what is justice and what is right. Let your voice be heard and stand together, united for what needs to happen in Dominica. And with that, I just want to thank you, Mr. Dura and Paula, for having me on here to express this very difficult situation with the passing of our cousin. We pray that this does not have to happen to another family member. This is our prayer, because honestly, it's enough. It needs to get better so that we can feel secure in Dominica. I need to be able to visit Dominica and feel like if anything happens to me, I will be okay. And I don't have that security as a Dominican, and that should never be the case. So with that, I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, Mr. Dura and Paula, for having me on this afternoon.
Yeah, just before you go, Miss Liz, let me just read a couple comments from persons that are coming in. And after that, we will have Paula chime in, and then you can give your final closing thoughts. Okay, some persons here, but thank you very much for your comments here, Miss Liz. This person here, Peter Zavi, is writing, the healthcare system is terrible in Dominica. The government only built structures. My people, a building is certainly not a hospital. Anitha Adams is writing here, so true, Paula. They're looking at a beautiful building and not what is inside of the building. Phoebe James is writing, it is a friendship hospital and an unfriendship hospital, whatever you mean by that, Phoebe James. Anitha Adams again is writing, well, they need to speak out if they know that better could be done, okay? Marshall Lawrence is writing here, healthcare, the most costly but most needy. Norma Ito is writing as well, they need a change of government. Mali Ostri is writing, my girl, people do speak out. One body on, I guess Mali is trying to say here, people do speak out, but persons don't listen, okay? Let me just see if I could get some more comments in. Janice Jean-Jacques is adding a voice to the conversation, and she's writing, when they can tell you that they have insurance for them and their families, and they can fly out to seek medical attention, do you think that they will care what type of treatment the rest of you receive? Thank you very much, Janice, for your comment in that department. Christine Nicholas is writing here, it should be a criteria for selection of a CBI seller to adopt a school, a hospital, a road, etc., to ease the burden on the government. Well, we wait for that to be implemented. Christine, in terms of the passport sellers. Owen Prosper is locked in and saying good afternoon. Let me just see if I could get some more comments here very quickly before we bring it to a wrap here this afternoon. I'm trying to read some comments that I have not called these persons before, just to get a broader perspective of everybody's comment here. Ivinia Joseph, Lofty and Paula, my friend, I'm locked in as well. Bernard Aline is writing, Lofty, when we go to the hospital, the emergency signs and others are in different languages, and the largest letters are the ones in Chinese. The English words are amongst the smallest. Well, Bernard, I have to see that for myself, but thanks for your notification here. Reading and size of the language that is written at the hospital. Marina Charles is writing here, the country is me, myself, and I. They don't care a rat about country. Marlin Shillingford is writing, people all over the world, groups of people in the thousands are standing up to tyranny. Canada, Australia, Europe, Guadeloupe, join in, Dominica citizens. That is what Marlin Shillingford is suggesting here. Brian Joseph, he too is writing here, we should never allow these ministers to leave the country when they are sick, because they are the ones that created the healthcare system. How can you be afraid of your own healthcare system that you created? Let me just see if I can come down to get some more comments here before I get back to you. Agatha St. Louis is writing here, I'm deeply saddened by the stories I'm hearing about what's going on in our medical system. Those who have an option to go overseas, what about those who do not have that option? The people need to demand better. People deserve better. This is everybody's business. Ronnie Rui is locked in here as well. And the list goes on and on. Persons, I really cannot read all your comments this afternoon, but again, we want to thank you for your comments and suggestions as you've been part of the conversation as we're here. Let me just move across to Paula here so that she can kind of wrap it up in terms of our comments and tell our guests here a hearty bye-bye. Paula, and then we'll get back to you, Ms. Liz Coates, to wrap up, all right? Hold on. Let me just get back to this here. Something is not happening here. Yes, now. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Lofty, I'm one that call things by their names. Let me tell you what I noticed sometime last year. I went to the hospital with someone on 5 different occasions, and that was like in short space of time. What I noticed, we are in a pandemic, and most of the business places that you go to, there is someone either standing by the door to spray your hand with alcohol to get you sanitized. Or, you know, there is this little sanitizing machine that is right there and you press and, you know, you have this alcohol drip off your hands. I noticed I went to the hospital and there was this little machine on the side of the door. And for 5 days going to the hospital, there was no alcohol in this machine to sanitize your hands. I entered the emergency area, and what I noticed, there was one young lady sitting, and she seems to be bringing up something. And what this young lady had was a piece of a gallon jerrycan. A piece of a gallon jerrycan. And when I saw that, I spoke out and I said, I cannot believe this. In a country that has so much money, we've been selling passports for years and years and years. And are the persons who in charge, are they not visiting the emergency room to see that they need trays and things that look suitable? I would not even have this at my house, a piece of gallon jerrycan hot. And this young lady, that's what she was speaking in. And no hand sanitizer by the door. It's like, what is it that's really happening? And sometimes when you speak out, people say you do not like the government. This is a message here this afternoon. I want to send this message this afternoon for the persons who are out there, and I'm talking about the diasporas, the persons who are out there, and they come to Dominica to vote every 5 years. Make a contribution to your country if you love your country. Because you may be out there, but you have some family members here who are hurting and suffering. And they may not be able to travel to another country for medical when they fall ill because they do not have insurance. We all know what have been said about the ministers. They have the insurance, they can take their family overseas. They can take their close friends and associates. I want to say that if you are not a close friend of the government, you may just as well pass away like how Sonny Boy have gone to rest. I want to say also thank you very much, Liz. And I hope persons that have been viewing us here this afternoon we learn from this. You will put country first. Thank you once again.
All right, Paula, thank you very much for your comments here. And Liz, any final thoughts from you, Liz, as we move at this time? I know you may have some more to say, but we must bring the conversation to a wrap here this afternoon. But before I do, have you say your closing comments. Liz, on behalf of Civic Vibes and the team, I want to thank you for having the courage to speak. That is what some of us, we are lacking in Dominica, the courage to speak. And on that note, I want to ask you for your closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you again for having me. To be honest with you, I don't know why Dominicans have lost their voice. That is something that it baffles me. I was actually born in St. Martin, the French side, and I was raised by my grandmother in Dominica. And I was raised to voice my opinions. I was raised to speak out when something is not right. This is the community that I grew up in. This is the nation that I remember. Dominicans always speak out when something is wrong. And now, when we have things that are wrong, people are silent. We need to retrospect and look at why has our voice been silent, and look beyond, look beyond whatever it is that is holding us back from speaking. Because I'm telling you right now, as someone who grew up in Dominica, I'm not familiar with the term, I'm afraid of losing my job. I'm not familiar with the term, I'm afraid of this person, how we, for lack of a better term, shafting me. I'm not familiar with that term because I know Dominicans to be people who push the envelopes and do what needs to be done to get answers. That is the Dominica that I know, and that is the Dominica that we need to get back to. People that speak out and are not afraid of what's going to happen, because we speaking for something that is right and what is justice and what is deserving of Dominicans. And as Paula said, it's not about politics. It's not about the government. It's not about who's there and who's not there. It's about what is right and what is wrong and what needs to be done now. And I'm saying now because as human beings, we have a tendency of, when we say we'll try tomorrow, we never get to it. So we need to focus on these issues now, today, and do something about it today. One of the comments that one of the listeners said was they have been speaking out, but nothing has been done about it. How are you guys speaking out? What are you doing? Are you guys organizing rallies, protests? What is really going on? Now, it's easy to say people in diaspora like myself can speak out, but we are limited because we are in the diaspora. But you are the ones in the front line. You are the ones in Dominica. You are the ones that have to do what you need to do. And we in the diaspora will, of course, back you up. I for sure will back up my Dominicans whenever something is right, because I want to come home. Listen, this is the thing that we need to understand as Dominicans. When you come home to Dominica, you want to see that things have been improved. You want to smile and see that things are changing for the better, not the same old thing. I mean, I could tell you times when I came back home and I saw the same old thing, the same holes in the road, the same things, nothing changed. And you ask yourself, what is going on? And this is the same question I'm asking myself right now. What is going on? And it's wanting to blame the government, but I want to also put that responsibility on the Dominicans who are voting for the government, because ultimately we are the ones that have the power. You are the ones that have the power. They don't have the power. You have the power. You put them in and you can rightfully remove them if they are not doing what they're supposed to do. And this is the mindset that we need to have, to hold our leaders accountable for what they are supposed to do. Having a structure, as one of the comments were made, having a beautiful hospital in terms of the structure and the building is one thing. But my sweethearts in Dominica, if you get sick and they don't have Dolipran, they don't have painkillers, they don't have a proper oxygen machine to put you on, they've given you what, as Paula said, what she said, half of a cut out container to make you if you need to vomit or spit out in. You know, when we get to these levels, we need to ask ourselves a question, Dominicans, what is happening? And the more we speak out, the more we stand together and not be afraid, the more we're going to start to see changes, because that means that we are holding our leaders accountable for the portfolios and the roles that they have, not the other way around. And when it comes back to they trying to be malicious, we still have the final say, because we are the ones that vote in for these people. Please remember that whenever you want to voice your opinion or let your voice be heard about a situation. And with that, I just want to thank you guys again for having me on here. It was a pleasure. And let's hope that something comes out of this interview.
True, thank you. Mrs. Liz Coates, Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders, let me give you your proper handle. Thank you very much again for having courage to speak and gracing us here on Civic Vibes with your presence this afternoon. It's not on the best of terms, but we well appreciate the conversation and the need for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye, bye-bye. All right, thank you very much. Yes, the Dominicans, we have been having for the past hour, thereabout, a very interesting conversation with Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders is her name. Very, very interesting program. That is basically an eye-opener as to really what goes on in our main facility at Goodwill. That is the PMH, now dubbed the China Friendship Hospital. As to when that name was officially changed in Parliament, we don't know. But even journalists in Dominica call it the China Friendship Hospital. I choose to call it still the Princess Margaret Hospital. That is what it is, and that is what it will remain until and unless things are done properly in terms of that name change. So folks, as they say in the tourism world, tourism is everybody's business. And so yes, I even believe even more that healthcare ought to be everybody's business in Dominica. Martin Luther King, my mentor in this business, he once said, the time is always right to do what is right. And so yes, Dominicans, by and large, those of you who are on the soil and those of you who are out of Dominica, that time, it is the right time, and that time is now. Let us speak with a voice, let us speak in a very vociferous tone, that the persons, the policymakers, whoever it is, must understand that we deserve better in this year, our land, Dominica. Thank you very, very much. All right, folks, it is already what, quarter past the hour? Yes, 5:15. As I told you at the opening, we have a double whammy for you this afternoon. And we have already waiting patiently, that is, another very patriotic brother in the name of Mr. Jeffers Joseph, son of the soil. As you well know, as you ought to know, we are in the month of February, and every year, the month of February is set aside to look at Black people as a race, as a people. We as a people, the contributions that we have made and still continue to make to humanity. And to break that down or to unpack that this afternoon for us in his own way, Mr. Jeffers Joseph, a son of the soil, is here to give us some more information on the important role that Black people have played since civilization. Let us take a little break. At that break, we're gonna take a break for like 2 or 3 minutes before we get that discussion going with Mr. Jeffers Joseph. What we will try to put on the screen for you is how you can contribute to the work that Civic Vibes is doing on the ground here in Dominica. So we'll be back in just 2 or 3 minutes right here as we start the second leg.
and I should say, I have a duty to entertain, to lift people from the daily pain. Yes, I will be doing what they expecting on Carnival Day, from today to Ash Wednesday. Whoa, every guy is so seasoned. I'm taking to step higher, higher and higher. Things people never saw in me. It's right before their eyes. It's now a reality to see the talent in me.
Well, folks, it's our Calypso season, and we're just giving you a little some Calypsos before we get to Mr. Joseph, who is waiting back.
To bring out the talent in me.
My God! Give it to them! Oh, yo, yo! It's the story about your karma. King Bob reporting for duty. Because God is so silent, man taking full advantage. So now and then examples are sent to emphasize this message. As a man sows shall he reap, whether or not he believes in it. Nobody can protect you when karma comes back to get you. All man like to do is wrong, abuse his power and his position until his karma comes around. Big man like Saddam, Chavez and Gaddafi, just be begging for mercy, hey, crying like a baby.
All right, Dominicans, yes, we are back. That is King Bob contribution to the Calypso season here, the 2022 Calypso seasons. 14 persons last night made it to the finals that is set to go down sometimes later this month. So we are back here on the Civic Vibes platform. Thank you, Dominicans, for sticking around. Thank you for watching and also participating in the conversation here. We just heard a conversation re healthcare and the need for proper healthcare in Dominica with one young lady in the name of Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders. And I want to thank her again for speaking to us right here live on the Civic Vibes platform. The next leg, we're going to talk about Black people. I'm a Black man. Brother Jeffers is a Black man. Paula Celestine. Paula, you as though you're looking at, there's a little redness in here, Paula. But she's Black. Paula is Black. Paula is Black. So we're going to talk about Black people. Let me say a special good afternoon to our brother here who will be diving into the conversation this afternoon. Brother Joseph, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Lofty. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty
Excellent.
well. Nice having you.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure indeed.
All right. Brother Jeffers, you gave me a little bio about yourself. But what better it is for a man to, quote unquote, introduce himself to the listening and viewing public. This is now your opportunity, Brother Jeffers, a man of the soil. Go right ahead in terms of an introduction.
Absolutely. Well, of course, I'm from Wesley. I grew up in Dominica, obviously. I went to the DGS and then I worked in the agricultural department for a couple of years. And then I joined the police force. I did a couple of years there as well. And I decided to immigrate to the United States, where I have been living since.
Yeah. So in terms of your accomplishments, any of them you want to mention here before we get into the meat of the discussion, sir?
Okay, not a problem. Well, actually, I'm an accountant, really by trade, by career. I went to Baruch in Manhattan Business School, and I since leaving school, I've been working in. I've worked in the accounting industry. I worked with the state of New York as an auditor for approximately 10 years. And then I worked with a couple of other companies, you know, doing auditing. And then I decided to break off on my own to do entrepreneurship. So specifically, I decided to get into real estate because I always wanted to own my own business because I never really felt comfortable working for anyone. So I've always believed in entrepreneurship. I decided to get into real estate. I became a broker and worked in the real estate business for quite a long time until around 2016, 17. And then I decided to try my hand at something else. I decided to go into writing because I have always loved writing. I've always been good at it, good at writing essays, writing poetry. I've been good at art as well. So I just combined the two and I decided to get into writing as a career.
As a career. Thank you, Jeffers. Well, Jeffers, it is always good so that Dominicans can know who we have out there. You know, a lot of times we hear Dominicans that are doing good work out there. And in terms of the background information, just to kind of get us a little more connected with these people, some of us don't know. I, for sure, I'm learning this afternoon. So, you know, who really Jeffers Joseph is. But before we ask you to kind of chime in into the discussion here this afternoon to talk about Black people and the important role that they continue to play, let me just ask Paula, the co-host here, to just kind of introduce herself and to also greet the Dominican people again who are there with us locked on. Yes, Paula, go right ahead.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Mr. Joseph.
Good afternoon, Paula. Good afternoon, how are you?
Yes, you take it.
Are you hearing me?
Okay. Mr. Jeffers Joseph said he's an accountant.
Yes.
Nice to have you as one of our guests this afternoon.
Nice to have you as well.
You said you are into real estate.
Correct.
This tells a lot. Mr. Jeffers Joseph, when did you in Dominica here to assist us with our accounting at the ministry?
Well, I'm open to anything, but the question is, will they want me? That's always the question in Dominica, you know.
Again, this is one of our gentlemen who have left Dominica, went overseas, very productive, and he's out there. So I know there's a lot of Dominicans who would like to come back home, but they are out there working.
True. That is so true.
Not just about the money out there, because I know some persons say, okay, Dominica cannot pay me, but there are some persons who love their country and would like to be back home, but Dominica does not welcome them.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
So thank you, Mr. Joseph, as one of our guests.
All right, thank you very much, Paula, indeed, for your opening salvo here. Yes. Brother Joseph, as we get into the meat of things, your love and passion for books and writing and poetry and everything to do with the literary arts, where did that start from, sir?
That's a good question. Well, as I said, I've always loved art and writing. So what inspired me to get into writing was really after President Obama won his 2 terms in 2012, actually. That's the actual time I got into writing. I was so impressed with Obama's overwhelming victories in 2 elections. Amid all the obstruction and the subversions that he had to face, he still was able to surmount that and win 2 terms as a Black man, as President of the United States. So that inspired me to get into writing. And strangely enough, I did not write a political book. My first book was not a political book. I actually wrote a murder mystery. So they don't mesh, but I ended up writing a murder mystery. And then I went into the political book.
A murder mystery, you said? A murder mystery?
Mystery, yes. Money, misery, and murder.
Just give us a little.
Yeah, so that book was
of that book.
No problem. That book was inspired by a case that took place in Arizona. The book is basically about elitism. It is about elitism, where a young girl murdered a young gentleman, but they were all way up in society. They were very wealthy, wealthy people, and so that's what inspired me to write that particular book. It's all about mystery and murder and money and wealth and elitism.
Wow. Okay. Any other books, sir, that you have written on their belt so far?
Then I wrote and published Democracy's Hypocrisies, which is really what covers Obama's winnings and the hypocrisies in democracy. That book was co-written by Adelaide Paul, of course. She was right there behind me. She was the wind pushing me along to write that book. Although she didn't decide to put her name on it. She didn't put her stamp on it, but she was all in with me on that book. She did all of the editing, actually, and all of the research. Most of it she did. I did the writing, and she even did some writing as well, but she is very much in the background. She doesn't like to be at the forefront.
Well, let me tell you something. It's maybe a good reason or maybe a bad reason why she keeps staying in the background, because it is because of her coming in the foreground, at the forefront, that is doing the little 5-minute snippets of your work, that I said, nah, Jeffers, I have to get in contact with Jeffers, because what I'm hearing from Adelaide Paul is sounding so good. So I have to speak to the person, the mastermind behind all that good work. So I want to say thanks for Adelaide Paul for helping you along as well.
Yeah, she's the mastermind. So just to tell you quickly about that book was basically about how the Republicans obstructed President Obama. And so I covered that. I covered all of the money in politics that was thrown in against President Obama. I talked about the real estate meltdown. I talked about war, how the disadvantages of war and things of that nature. Polling system, how biased pollings are, and if I can recall, many other subjects in the political arena. And then I moved on to a third book, which was Friends with Deficits. I know you're going to find that fascinating, but the title was Friends with Deficits. And this one was pretty much about not judging a book by its cover. So you can think you know someone, but you may not necessarily know the person at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, you may find that the person is a totally different person that you thought that you met. So that's what Friends with Deficit is in a nutshell about.
Can I give you a challenge to write about one entitled Friends with Benefits?
Friends with Benefits, yeah, of course, that's the brother of Friends with Deficits. Actually, the idea was a spin-off from that.
Okay.
And following that, I actually completed a book called Their Lives Mattered. Their Lives Mattered. And on this one, Adelaide decided to put a stamp of approval and her signature at the front this time of the book. So she co-wrote that book with me, which is a very interesting book, because what it does, it's a chronicle of not all, but many young Black men and women who were tragically killed by police or hate groups. So I compiled 100 drawings of victims of violent crimes involving law enforcement and hate groups, all the way from 1955 through all up to George Floyd. So I started off with Emmett Till, went all during the civil rights period, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evans. I included all the way up to Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. The list goes on and on. Trayvon Martin in Florida, Castillo in Georgia, all the way up to George Floyd. So that included the 100 victims of tragic events, including law enforcement and hate groups. And Adi was the co-writer on that book.
Okay.
And then, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So that I did that book around 2019, but I did not publish that book. What intercepted it was the book that I just published, which is Black Inventors. For some reason, I decided to, instead of publishing Their Lives Mattered, I thought that it was better to put this book through. Initially, I wanted to complete it in time for Martin Luther King's birthday in January, but it didn't work out that way. So Adi told me, well, let's just shoot for Black History Month. That's even a better time to market it. So here again, she's the genius behind the deal itself. So here we are, just published Black Inventors.
Okay, good.
And here it is. Here it is.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So that now will take us into the discussion itself. In terms of you chronicling, as it were, the contributions that Black people have made to civilization, why is that so important for we as a Black people? Why?
Well, we are we are an integral part of the development of the world. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the world. Let's start with the inventors. We have Black men who invented, you can see the mailbox, traffic lights. People don't know these things. The ironing board. I have upwards of 80 drawings of inventors in here. But, you know, these are things that they don't want you to know. But they have, Black people have played significant roles in advancing the development of mankind. They don't want you to know these things. And that's why I really wanted to put a spotlight on the contributions of Black people over the past centuries. I really wanted to do that, because I don't think that they have gotten the level of acknowledgement or recognition that I think they deserved. So, and that's what inspired me to write this book. So it's actually a coloring book. Yeah. That the kids can color, they can have fun, they can engage, they can be excited. They can have fun while they learn the history of Black contributions and Black inventions.
Yeah, yeah. In your work producing that book and you following Black people to the T, can you elaborate on one or two Black persons that really struck you, upon your journey thus far, that you'd want to elaborate on just a little more in detail so that our viewing public and listening public could have a much better idea of just who these people are, first of all, and their contribution to society? Maybe one or two?
Well, yes, absolutely. Let's take Garrett Morgan. Garrett Morgan. Let's see if I can find you quickly. Garrett Morgan. This is Garrett Morgan. I don't know if you can see him, Lofty.
Yes, yes, we're seeing him, yes.
Okay. So this gentleman invented the traffic signal. He invented the traffic signal. We have Lewis Howard Latimer. I was very inspired by this guy. He invented the carbon light bulb. Okay. Just I can't look them up right now, but I'm just listing them for you. The significant inventions by these guys. This is the gentleman.
Yeah.
Mary Van Brittan Brown, home security system. Okay, all these are Black people doing this. Benjamin Benneker, he invented the wooden clock. Okay. Jan Ernst Metzellinger invented the shoe lasting machine. It's a device that I think prolonged the life of your shoe. Sarah Boone patented the ironing board. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So as to whether I went into real details about any particular one, I didn't really. I just, because I was too engaged in doing the artwork and also doing the research and into so many of them. It's upwards of 80. So I really didn't focus in on any particular one in that sense.
Okay. These books, for example, the picture that you just put on screen a while ago, how user friendly would these books be for children to follow through?
That's an excellent question. It's a book. It's 8 by 11 actually. It's a very large book. Can you see it well, Lucky?
Yes, I'm seeing it very well. Very well. Yes.
Very spacious. These are two of the drawings. So you can see, let's put a pen. You see the width of a pen?
Yes, yes,
here?
Yes.
So you see it's about twice the width of this
yes.
pen.
Uh-huh.
So to put that into perspective, there's a lot of room for kids to work. Kids or others. It's not really restricted to kids. It can be adults as well. Anyone who likes artwork, who likes putting artwork to
So Jeffers, let me ask you another question. These drawings that are there, they are drawn by you?
Yes.
Oh.
Me and me alone.
Okay.
Me and me alone.
That's very good. That's very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In your quest for chronicalizing, as I say, Black persons and their inventions and what they did, have you looked upon your country, Dominica, to see if anybody in there or anybody kind of met that criteria as to they being a Black person from Dominica that can fit squarely in the conversation we are having this afternoon? Any Dominicans of note so far?
You mean in terms of inventions?
Yeah, inventions or doing something, in particular to touch humanity in a very good way.
I know you want to mention Scarrett, right?
No, it's up to you. It's up to you.
No, that was meant to be a joke, though. That was meant to be a joke. But I'm sure there are many talented people in Dominican. There is no question about that. So if we delve into it deep enough, we'll find someone.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jeffers.
Dominicans are talented people, so we have a few of them, but it's just a matter of putting. I think Adelaide is working on them for me right now. She's working on a list for.
She's putting the list together. She's putting that list together, you said.
Yes, but I'm not going to limit it to artwork or inventions, but we have very talented people. I can name many talented people from Dominica. I am one. No, I'm just kidding.
That's true. These books, Jeffers, are you looking at, considering they being maybe part of our curriculum vitae so that children could learn more of the Black people and their inventions? Are you looking at, you know, maybe approaching the Ministry of Health to ask them to adopt one or two books and, you know?
Absolutely. Ideally, that is what I would like to see happen, because this is a book that can be in your collection for a very long time. I mean, this is what the kids need. It's not just for Black History Month. I wanted it to be published around this time, but this book is a book that can be among your collection of books for a very long time, because it has a wealth of information in there regarding Black inventions, Black contributions, achievements, accomplishments. So it's not only limited to kids, it's for anyone. It's valuable information in that book.
True. If someone is listening now, Jeffers, and they would want to buy or purchase one or all of these books, where can they find them? How can they contact you?
Well, it can be found at Amazon.com, or on my website, jeffartandbooks.com, www.jeffartandbooks.com. As well as personally, they can collect books from me, but it can be found on Amazon or on my website, www.jeffartandbooks.com.
Okay.
But going back to your question about whether or not I would like to make it available in Dominica, absolutely. In fact, I tried that before and it didn't work with our Prime Minister, so I don't know how it will work this time.
So just to go a little deeper in that, did you ask and you were denied, or what was the situation there?
Well, I didn't ask. He asked me.
Okay.
He met me on a flight and he asked me to, someone asked me to, that was my first book. Someone asked me to go over to the Prime Minister and give him a book. So I went over to him and gave him a book, and he came to my seat and told me, "Oh, that's good. And when you come down to Dominica, just come to my office, and I usually help out the artists. I usually get 100 books from new Dominican local artists, and so just come to my office and I will make that available to you." That never ended up happening. So I went to the office just as he said, brought the book to him, and he never did anything about it until today. And that was in 2013, which is 9 years ago?
Wow. Well, we have heard that phrase in Dominica, times without numbers. So you are no exception. You are no exception, Jeffers.
Okay. I feel better now, Lofty.
But Paula is here. She wants to add to the conversation or maybe ask you a question. Let me just give her that time now, please. Hold on. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Josie.
Yes.
Have you written a book about Dominica, or do you intend to write a book about Dominica?
Excellent question. I intend to. I do.
Yes.
Are you there, Paula?
Yes. Did you answer the question?
I did. I intend to write a book about Dominican leaders, actually. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said my intention is to write a book about Dominican leaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Joseph, you said you went to the Prime Minister's office, and that was 2013.
2013, correct.
That's 9 years later down, you haven't heard from him.
No, he hasn't. Well, I gave up on him because it was his idea. I didn't ask him. He asked me to come to his office because he would like to purchase 100 books. I said, that's fine, I'll come to your office. So I went there, and to make a long story short, back and forth, and nothing materialized from that. And it's been 9 years now, so. I moved on from that long ago. But in the context of what Lofty asked me regarding writing a book, yes, I'll be writing a book about Dominican leaders.
Okay, I was asking whether he knew that you were an accountant at the time.
Did he know
You were an accountant.
that I would be counting the years, you mean?
You were an accountant.
Yes. I heard what you said. I did not tell him I was an accountant, but I'm asking you if I should have told him I'm an accountant, so I would be counting the years. It's actually a joke.
The reason why I asked that question,
Yeah.
maybe if you had told him,
Oh, I see where you're going with that.
said, okay, I have a job for you. Or maybe he would have been scared on the other hand that maybe you're going to start counting the missing millions.
I think the latter. The latter. That's funny. That's really funny.
All right. Well, as I said, Brother Joseph, we have heard that phrase from the man who sits in the Prime Minister chair many, many times in terms of making commitments to persons, in terms of he willing to assist them in whatever shape or form and not coming up with the goods, as it were. But that is a man that the Dominican public, by and large, have condoned for many years and are still condoning to some extent to have him in the chair, basically being very, very economical with the truth sometimes. But in terms of turning back our attention to the Black inventors, there are some Black inventors who persons look up to, persons who acknowledge in terms of their writing skills or whatever they invented. You name a few a while ago. Do you still hear or do you still see that sort of tug of war, sorry, Brother Joseph, between what the Black people invented and what the quote unquote Caucasians or white persons invented? Do you still see that, you know, or hear about that sort of battle between Black and white in terms of inventions?
Well, I can't say I've seen or heard anything like that, but I know for a fact they suppress that kind of information. So in other words, they know that Black people have made significant inventions available to society, yet they suppress the information, just like they are suppressing a whole era in history. They don't want anyone to know about slavery. They're trying to get rid of the books talking about slavery in schools. They don't want that to be told at all. They want to erase it completely. So even though they know the significant inventions that Black people have made over the years, they suppress that. And they don't want to give them that kind of acknowledgement. Many of those inventors obviously have gone to the great beyond without even getting their flowers, without getting the recognition, the acknowledgement. And that's what inspired me to put the spotlight on these Black inventors. They were very innovative and inventive. And I just thought that there was a void there that should be filled.
I was supposed to ask you that question earlier, but it just came back. What are some of your main obstacles or hindrances or hurdles, as it were, to writing itself? Let's say someone is thinking of writing a book. What are some of the, obstacles they can look out for?
Well, writing, many people can write, but I don't think it takes a lot. Writing is very challenging. It takes a lot to write a book because you have to be very patient. Some people take 3 years, 4 years to write books. So it has to do with patience. You have to have a lot of patience and you have to be determined and resolute about writing a book. You have to set out to write the book. You have to love writing. You have to love the topic that you're writing about. You have to be excited. You have to be passionate about the subject. So I think that these are the hurdles to writing a book. Nowadays in America, it's not that difficult to write, to get a book published. All you have to do is, go online and, find out how the necessaries, find out what it takes to do it, and you can do it. But to get there, to get that book, to write that book, to the preparation to get that book ready, that's where the challenge is. You have to do a lot of research, depending on if it's a nonfiction book. You have to do a lot of research. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. In my case, there were a lot of drawings, a lot of artwork that I had to do. So it was very painstaking, time consuming. So you'd have to want to invest all that time and energy and effort into it. I think that's where the challenge is.
Indeed, indeed. So yes, so persons can look at some of the challenges when writing books. Now, coming from your own experience, Jeffers, give us that kind of feeling that you get when all that hard work, sometimes you say years, is putting into writing a book. Kind of tell us about the experience that you feel when everything is done and dusted, as it were, and you're ready to have it out in the market for sale.
Well, it's a period of exhaling. You exhale and you say, well, I've done it. So I've done the hard part. So now the easy part is just marketing the book. So, and that is not that easy either. I'd say half the job, once the book has been completed, edited and published, that's half of the job done. The other 50% is marketing that book. It takes a lot. Nowadays you have to go on social media. You have to use all social media platforms. You have to use every aspect of marketing. You have to use flyers. You have to use word of mouth. You have to use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. It's every day. It's every day. You have to be marketing it in order for it to be successful. But it's a sense of accomplishment. Once you've done that, you can say, yes, I completed my what I intended to complete.
I see we are slowly but surely running up to the 6 o'clock hour. We have like 5 more minutes to go. Anything else that may be on your mind at this time, Jeffers, that you'd want the listening and viewing public to know about? Read the discussion we're having.
Yeah, well, let me say something about my country. I'm a Dominican, like you and Paula and everyone else. And it's really sad what our country has come to. It's really sad. And I can relate our country to oppression, suppression, and injustice, which is what Black people are. So in the context of Black history to me is a report card on where we have come, how far we have come in our quest to achieve peace, justice, and equality. Peace, justice, and equality. So it's a reckoning. That's what Black history, to me, represents. And in Dominica, in the context of Dominica, Dominicans are not, they're being oppressed, they're being suppressed, and there's a lot of injustice. I wrote an article about Gun Emanuel some years ago. Gun Emanuel went to the great beyond without any day in court. We didn't see justice at all. Vescott Jones is still unemployed as far as I know for some crabbacks. There's a lot of persecution. Lennox Linton, Thompson Fontaine, and the list goes on and on. Anytime you're in the opposition and you dissent, anytime citizens dissent, they are persecuted. So we have a socialist country. We don't have democracy, we have a socialist country. And your very survival in Dominica depends on one man, and this is unbelievable. So prior to 1978, for those of us who lived before 1978, we knew how it was. We were under colonialism. However, I know the time is going, but we had democracy then. Now we don't have democracy. And the ironic thing about it is because of the fact that it's a Black man that is at the helm, yet we have oppression, suppression, and injustices in Dominica.
Well, Brother Joseph, we have a little latitude to go a little past our time this afternoon. And it is good that you kind of dovetailed into giving that answer or making those suggestions when I ask you for any further comments. Someone basically put a suggestion towards me and a question as well to ask you. But I basically had done reply to the person already and told them, no, I would not have asked you that question because the type of question the person asked me to ask you, it wasn't in line with the literary conversation we're having. Mm-hmm. But seeing that you kind of veered off in that area, I think it is the question is in order in terms of just your comment as a Dominican. By the way, were you a police officer before?
Yes, I was.
Okay, good. So in that light, the person is asking me to ask you, what is your impression of the Dominica police force that you served back then? What are your impressions now of that force?
Night and day. Dominica doesn't have a police force. Dominica doesn't have a police force. How I know a police force is totally independent of government. You're not partisan. You're non-partisan. You're neutral. But Dominica doesn't have a police force. Dominica has Skerritt's force. So let's start there. There's no comparison. None. I worked on the Blanchard, and the police force was totally independent of politics, of the government. Totally. Neutral. So that Dominica doesn't have a police force now.
And you're saying that based on what, or based on what evidence, or what situation kind of prompts you to say that in that direction?
Well, it's been many years, but I can, the basic function, the basic policing is all about protection of life and property. Protection of life and property. Detecting and preventing crime. Preventing, if you can't prevent it, then you detect it. But I don't see any prevention of crime in Dominica. All I see is persecution. I see people cannot dissent. People cannot protest. Skerritt is using fearmonger. He's using preemption to scare people into not protesting. So if he knows you're going to do a protest, he sends his police force out to harass the people, which is not fair. That's not right. So he's preempting the people. He knows that he cannot do anything violent to them, but he's psyching them out with fear-mongering. So he's preempting them. He's scaring them with the police. And that's not right. That's not democracy, and that's not democratic. That is like Banana Republic. So those who want to bury their heads in the sand, thinking that Dominica has democracy, Dominica does not have democracy. Dominica is a full-blown socialist country. And you can say, I said that.
Wow. So just to reiterate a point there, I need to go back to that. The force that you knew when you served, Brother Joseph, and the force now, what are some of these changes, drastic changes that you know, maybe you're seeing popping up their heads on the horizon?
Well, all right, let me put it this way. When I worked in the police force, I worked with this SSU unit, special service unit. And we were the guys going out. If they had a protest, Let's suppose they had a protest and we were asked to go out to ensure that there's law and order there. We would just be there as a presence. That's it. We would allow the people to do what they had to do because we respected democracy, we respected their democratic rights, we respected the Constitution. And the Constitution demands that people have the right to peaceful protest, peaceful gatherings, to dissent. And so that's what we used to do. We used to just be there as a presence. That's it. Unless somebody went out of line. Not with firearms, not with weapons. We didn't even use weapons. Well, we were a special service unit, so we had our weapons, but it was just a matter of going through the motions. Nobody used any weapons. We had no reason to use weapons. We didn't harass people. We didn't torment them. So that's a different police force completely. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Joseph, you mind if I ask you, at the time when you serve as a police officer in Dominica, who was the commissioner of police at that time?
I worked under Owen Phillip and Blanchard. Desmond Blanchard.
Can I say back then in those days, they were not taking order or commands from the Prime Minister?
Not at all. Not at all.
So
the police force was.
So what you see today is totally different.
Totally different.
What we have as a police commissioner today and as a leader of the country.
Absolutely and totally different. There was no connection. Well, the Prime Minister had a hand in handpicking his commissioner of police. There's nothing we can do about that. However, the commissioner of police was totally independent of the Prime Minister's office, the politics. The politics was in there.
You mentioned Vescott Jones earlier, and the treatment that Vescott Jones have received from this government. Would you say the treatment that Vescott Jones have received, it is that someone somehow equal to what that George Floyd received a few years ago, where the police officer's neck were upon George Floyd, and the government, or what is posing as the government of Dominica, their neck is upon Vescott Jones. Their knees is upon Vescott Jones.
Well, there's a lot of parallels, and I think physical pain is not as bad as psychological pain. So if you want to punish someone, send them to jail for life. It's a more severe punishment than killing that person. That person is going to suffer for the rest of their lives in jail for the rest of their lives. So that's more punishment. So in essence, what I'm saying is Vescott Jones has been sentenced and has been remanded in jail. Basically, because the pain that he's feeling now is worse than if, God forbid, if he was dead, really. Because they are torturing him. They're torturing him just for some crapbacks, really. You don't have to physically strike someone to inflict pain, but you can do it mentally, psychologically. And that's what they're doing to him. They're torturing him psychologically. Just like they're doing with Lennox Linton, and just like they're doing with Thompson Fontaine. It's no different. And all the other members of the opposition that have been tossed back and forth in court for no apparent reason, for trumped up cases, charges, for fabricated charges, really, in my estimation.
Do you remember 2019 general election, the day before general election in Dominica? What transpired with the people of Salisbury?
I do.
I took note when you said that there's nothing that the police officers to that extent can do, even if the persons go out there to protest. I want to differ with that, because we've seen time and time again that a lot of Dominicans who would like to go out there to protest, they have this fear in them. They have the fear in them that when the police officers comes out there, they have this big rifle. It's like it's a simple walk. Sometimes you see them out, the police officers out there in their numbers with these guns. And when the people actually stand up, which they has a right to protest, but again, like you said, it's not a democratic country anymore. You see police officers tear gas with the people. So I differ with that the police officers is just terrifying the people. I differ with that because they actually act. I can recall the people of Salisbury taking all this tear gas the day before election. I can recall the police officers tear gas the people outside in the roundabout Negma War. And this was on more than one occasion. I can recall the police officers tear gas the citizens outside of Macmillan gas station in Roseau. And this has a kind of fear, has put some fear in the minds of the people that would really want to go out there and protest, because they are saying every time they go out there to protest that the police officers are at them with tear gas and big guns, and this fear the people. What is your message that you have for the Dominican public, that they should stand up and stand as one and remain in the streets until justice is done? What is your message that you have for the Dominican citizens?
Well, Paula, let's put it this way. There's an employer and there's an employee. The people of Dominica are the employers and Skerrit is the employee. Okay? All right. Having said that, Dominicans need to understand, but they should understand by now that they are the ones with the power, not the people in power. They have the power. They are the bosses. They are the employers. The tail doesn't wag the dog wags the tail. The people should be in control, but they have Skerrit in control. They employed Skerrit. They should take him out just as they put him in. They have allowed Skerrit to take control of them. That's what's playing out right now. So when you develop a monster, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it gets to the point where it's bigger than you, and you just can't control it anymore. And that's what has happened to the people of Dominica. And we can blame Skerrit all we want, but I'm blaming the people just as much as Skerrit, because Skerrit can do as much as the people allow him to do. They allowed Skerrit to treat them this way. They should take control, take to the streets. We are not going to get a change by on air. We're not going to do it virtually. We're not going to do it on air. And we are not going to do it on the airwaves. We're going to do it on the streets. So We can have people doing a virtual protest, virtual for electoral reform, all they want, but it's done on the street. It has to be done on the street. If it can't be done, they won't allow a protest for an electoral reform. How are you going to do it virtually? I would like to see how that's going to play out, but I guess we'll see.
True. Thank you very much, Jeff, as well. Hold on. Okay, Paula wants to contribute something there before we wind down the floor. Go ahead, Paula.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
is there a message you have for the Commissioner of Police this afternoon?
What am I going to do with Paula?
Paula,
you're a tough fighter. You throw punches, man. Well, what can I say to the Commissioner of Police? Well, there was a reason why he was picked. There is a reason why he was picked. So I'm not sure what I can say to this police commissioner, because I don't think there was let me repeat myself. There was a reason why this guy was elevated to the position of Commissioner of Police under Roosevelt's Garrett. I don't think it happened by a mistake or coincidence. So I don't know how much I can even say to this gentleman.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to say to him.
All right, Brother Jeffers, I want to thank you. Paula and I, and by extension, Master, I want to thank you. We realize we have gone overboard, but you know, these conversations are also always needed at times, just for persons to be liberal and speak their mind, as it were. And so maybe some other time I will invite you back here in a totally different capacity to speak to us, not on books, which are very important, yes, but on other matters as well.
Absolutely, Lofty, and thanks for inviting me, man.
Yes, two final questions though. Let me ask you the question, read the conversation we're having now, and then I will have you end up with the one read the books in terms of question where we really started. Mr. Joseph, with all your experience as an officer, a lawman in Dominica, who served your country, your honest opinion, sir, based on where you see Dominica as a country, Dominicans as a people, may end up, if the trajectory we are now on, there's not a 180-degree turn. That's the first question to you. The second question, and we'll end with that question, is read the books that we started with of yours. What are some of the final words that you'd want to give to any potential writers out there, or even persons who may be seeking to purchase of those all-important writings of yours?
Okay, sure. Thank you. In terms of Dominica, Dominica is a sad case right now. I think the people, it's all on the people. They have to stand up. We have to stand up. You can't, I hate to use this analogy, but you can't fight. You have to fight fire with fire. So if a house is burning, you don't bring a bucket. You bring the fire station, if possible, right? For a house burning, trucks upon trucks. Insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. Scarrett is not the normal politician. He's unconventional, if you know what I mean, if you will. You have to come good with him. He imports voters. He refuses to give electoral reform. He's not going to give it. It will mess up his legacy. We have to take it. How are we going to take it? You have to get to the streets. It's all on the people. Are they ready to go to the street? Are we ready to go to the streets? Are we going to appeal to people to come down and vote? Just like he's importing them, you're not going to import them, but at least appeal to them to come down and save your country. Will they come? They probably will. Some may argue that they won't come, but I think some may come.
Will you come? Will you come, Jefferson? That call is made.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's a matter of making that call. Come and protect your country. Come and save your country, because your country is in the ICU. That's not illegal. Illegal is bribery and treating. You're not bribing them or treating them. You know, something has to be done, something different. The point I'm making is that something different has to be done. And unless something different is done, you cannot fight, bring a gun. You cannot bring a knife to a gunfight. Figuratively.
True. I agree. We agree.
So it's all on us. It's all on us Dominicans. So how much we want change and how we would like to go about attaining that or achieving that. And the people have to stop being scared, because they are the bosses. They have to come to terms with the fact that they are the bosses and they employ it scary. That's what they have to start thinking. That's where they have to start thinking. That's how they have to start thinking. In terms of my books and how to be a writer, well, first of all, you have to love writing. As I said, it has to be, you have to love doing it, because you have to face it. You have to, it takes a long time. It's challenging. You do a lot of research, depending on what you're writing. If it's a nonfiction, it's a lot of research. It's a lot of checking and double checking and verifying and making sure that everything is right, because you can be, you're this close to being sued or taken to court. So you have to be very careful about what you're researching and what you're writing. It has to be legitimate. It has to be fact driven. And so once you are passionate about what you want to write, that's another big part of it. You have to be passionate about the subject in question. Once you have that, once you're a good writer, you feel you're confident about writing, and you feel that you're passionate about your subject matter, and you go ahead and you start your project, and be patient and just be resolute and be determined and keep at it and keep going, and you will prevail.
All right, Brother Jefferson Joseph, on behalf of the Civic Vibes team, sir, let me applaud you on your efforts in terms of your writings, in terms of the art, keeping that alive. I want to thank you very much on behalf of the team here. Also, too, I want to thank you for the extra little, how you call it, the bonus that you gave us this afternoon. Your thoughts on the law situation or the lawlessness situation in Dominica, as it were, you being a former police officer yourself. Thank you for this thought, sir. Wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Lofty.
It was a pleasure. Platform very, very
it was
soon.
Indeed a pleasure. It was indeed a pleasure. And thank you, Paula.
Yes, Paul. Yes, Paul. Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. But before you go, for anyone who's been viewing us here this afternoon and maybe interested in getting a book, I'm not sure whether you want to leave your number, contact number with us. So,
well, I can leave my contact number.
Where can we
on the website? The website will lead them to my personal information, which includes my number. The website is www.
Yes.
Jeff Art and Books. Jeff Art and Books.com.
So just run that again. www.
Jeff Art and Books. Jeff Art and Books.
Okay.
Jeff Art and Books.
Jeff Art and Books. Okay. All right, brother. All right, Brother Joseph. Thank you very much again for gracing us with your presence here this afternoon. The conversation was indeed fruitful. And we wish you rather all the success there is on your writings, and hope to see you sometime soon back here on this platform, Civic Vibes. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Lofty. I really did enjoy it. It was fun. Thank you, Paula. Okay, take care, guys. Thanks for inviting.
Right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, so folks, there you had it. We just finishing up a conversation with Brother Jeffers Joseph for his writings. And also he gave us a little bonus, as it were, his thoughts on Dominica in terms of its law affairs, where law is concerned in Dominica, he being a former police officer. Before that, we had a very interesting conversation as well with Mrs. Liz Coates Flanders. She gave us some experience, some very unfortunate experience that she had on the unfortunate passing of her cousin who lived at Warner, that is Mr. Jenna Lawrence. He was laid to rest last week, Friday. So on behalf of the civics team, let me just give Paula now her final go here with you guys in terms of her closing comments. Yes, Paul. Yes.
Thank you, Lofty. As usual, I think it was indeed a very wonderful program this afternoon, very educational. And before I leave, I want to say that we are still out there on our mission, like we have spoken about before, that we have started, Lofty and myself, about going into the different constituency and getting the work done on the ground. If anyone out there in the constituencies in Dominica and they are ready and have organized their team and willing to work with us, we are willing to work with you. So you can make contact with Lofty or myself. And our drive is helping to clean the voters list, educate the people, especially the adults who have not gotten the proper education. So that's what our drive is all about. And for the persons out there as well who would want to contribute, you can go to our we have our information on the Facebook page, Civic Vibes. So you can contribute, make your contribution. And there are a number of things that actually this contribution will go a long way in doing. So once again, I want to say thank you very much for all the viewers that we had this afternoon. Those of you who have been with us from the start, I want to continue to say thank you to you all and have a blessed Sunday evening. Thank you very much, Lofty, once again.
All right, indeed. Yes, indeed, Paula, thank you very much for your closing comments here. Let me say on behalf of the Civic Vibes team, that is Paula Celestine, she's here in the flesh. I just saw Marceline Edward. She's somewhere out there getting some sun. Marceline, good evening to you wherever you are this time, celebrating, having a good time. Hope to see you alive and in living color next week right here with us. And those of the team that are behind the scenes, basically making things work for the Civic Vibes team, thank you very much. We always appreciate your hard work that you continue to do in the back. To the many fans, the many followers, I saw this afternoon, 70 something of you, pretty close to 80 of you shared the live this afternoon. We want to thank you for doing that. We want to thank you for spreading the message, because the message, once it is dispensed here, it is your responsibility to basically spread the word, as it were. Don't just keep it to yourself. Spread the word based on what you heard there this afternoon. Tell them where they can find Civic Vibes. Tell them where they can find information. And what we're doing here, it is not a club. Every one of you on that live this afternoon, you are part and parcel of the Civic Vibes team. So you can call Paula, you can call myself, you can reach out to Marceline and give us the suggestions, give us the topics that you'd want, us to expound on. Give us ideas of guests we can bring onto the program and just make that program a very family-oriented discussion each and every Sunday around the table, around your couch, wherever you are listening each and every Sunday, all right? As I said, we are doing it for you. We are doing it for our country, Dominica, because it is because of some other person's hard work that we are there today enjoying some level of success in our country. So we owe it to the future generation to play our part as well. And that is what we will continue to do here, right here on Civic Vibes. As we go out this afternoon, please don't just rush out, but we'll be giving you 5 minutes of some music, especially the calypsos. We are in the calypso season. And as well, on the back end of that program, as we end, you will be seeing the different ways that you can contribute financially as well to the work that is being done here in Dominica, that is Civic Vibes is undertaking. So please feel free, make a generous donation to a worthy cause, Dominicans. All right. So on that note, I want to say bye-bye on behalf of Paula and Maslin and the team. Bye-bye, folks. See you next week, same time, same place, from the 4 o'clock hour right here on Civic Vibes. It's always our pleasure serving you in one way or the other. As they say, ciao. Bye-bye.
Give them the music.
Bye-bye.
Join him. You expect him to do good to you when that is all he knows to do. So in all this evil going round, life holds one consolation. No one gets away with wrong. Nothing new under the sun. Men who chase after power and wealth, who think they're gods unto themselves. Even the biggest of fools know that in this life, empty you come. You stay for a while and you better do what's right, cause you know it's empty you go. So tell the cops and the police, come in. Those who dispense selective justice, tell the bias, president.